Hey Ty, thanks so much for doing this.
Hey George, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. Movie's great. I just want to jump
Thanks.
in and ask, the historical events, the book it's based on, did you dig much into all of that, like in researching it and trying to figure out how you fit or what the actual story was and who this character was in the context and or did you just kind of go
When you
with what
say the actual book, do you mean the source material, or do you mean the book, the doctrine in the film, the Turner
Good
Diary?
question. Could have been either. Actually, that's a good. You should do my job. Actually, I think what I was thinking was the book about the story of what happened, not
Uh-huh.
the text within it, which I'd be fascinated to know if you read that too, though. Um,
Yeah, it's interesting because like there are varying degrees of adaptations. And when you have something that is, fiction, for instance, fiction is really fun to kind of dive into and pull from. But even then, like sometimes you can get lost, and a movie's different. A
yeah,
movie is much more concise. You're trying to tell a full story in a finite amount of time, whereas a novel can kind of expand in many different directions. So sometimes I've found it to be, it's like a blessing and a curse being, leaning and relying on source material. And I think in this particular project, the character that I was playing, he's a pretty young guy. He's very green. He's a young deputy who's working in a small town sheriff's office, and he doesn't really necessarily have a lot of law enforcement experience. So
yeah.
a lot of my research, I mean, I really didn't do that because I just thought it would be a waste of time. It's fun to see the character learn, as he goes along, and and make mistakes, right?
Yeah, that's a big part of the story is we are experiencing a little bit of it through his noviceness, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I wanted that to be organic. I spent most of my time just trying to, he's got two kids and an indigenous wife, and, he's, uncovered the idea that these guys from his hometown, people that he went to school with, have joined the Aryan Nation and now have spun out and are starting their own group. And he's trying to figure out what the scale of that is exactly, and he's putting those
Yeah,
pieces together. So it's really like a meditation on that, and like what it means for his family and his community, and what his role is as a young deputy. And when Jude Law's character Terry Huss kind of comes into his life, I mean, he just like tells him everything. He's like, hey man, this is what I've got, I've been collecting this, and this is what I think is happening. And that's kind of the catalyst moment. And when Jude kind of pulls him in to his orbit and they start chasing these guys together,
yeah.
then he's kind of playing on the big boy field.
Yeah, for sure. When you talk about he's like these are his neighbors, these are his friends. Like we live in a world now where we don't always know what the people we co-live with think or believe, and it could be way different than what we think or believe. And we're seeing that on a national and global scale. The movie
Uh-huh.
is so relevant. Do you feel that that's a good I mean, how does that feel like as a performer in it and like knowing that like recent events, very recent events, like the significance of it, you know?
Well, I think you hit on something, extremely profound, in that you said that we live with people sometimes in our communities that we think we know, we actually don't know. And
Yeah.
that could be a threat to ourselves, our families, our communities, our nation, our democracy. And I think that we live in a world now in 2024 where people are, you know, people like to put labels on people. People like to categorize people, and we don't dig down and peel back the layers to understand, well, what's happening psychologically at the core. And I think that this movie really pulls the veil back in that regard and examines some of these characters. And not a lot of movies do that. That are cut from the same cloth, so to speak. And I thought that this film, when I read the script, Zach Balin's script, I thought it was amazing in that regard. That really captured that. It really humanizes people, and gives the audience an opportunity to kind of understand these characters, both the good and the bad. And I think that's really important. I don't think you can fix any problem without understanding what the root cause is.
Yeah, I that's a great answer. And I think I agree. I think that's what's beautiful about the movie. So I'm excited for it. I have to wrap, but thanks for the time. Great work.
Thank you,
Excited for
man.
you out there, man. Good luck.
Enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.